it's about that grey area between friendship and love. So yes, they are very different. No, when I'm writing the book, I'm only ever thinking of it as a book and trying to make it work as well as possible. But it's true that for me, growing up throughout my life, my two great loves have been books and cinema, and I've been very influenced by film as a novelist. So I think there is an overlap, but not intentionally. I think it's important that books should work as well as possible as prose, as fiction. Well, it's a great honour for me. You know, French literature has such a fine reputation, and I think because I haven't been translated until now, I felt a little kind of excluded, left out, I suppose. So I'm really delighted and honoured to be finally in French. There's something rather daunting and imposing about the French literary tradition, I suppose. But I'm really delighted, you know, and I hope it works. I hope so. I would just wonder if, you know, I know that there's a kind of rivalry, and maybe French cinema has traditionally been very contemptuous of British cinema, and you know, and I know that the literary tradition is very strong as well. So it's nice to be accepted. Yes, Emma and Dexter meet at university in 1988, and they have a sort of tentative friendship. They're from very different backgrounds. They have very different outlooks on life. Dexter is rather selfish and moneyed and extremely confident and not always that intelligent. Emma, on the other hand, is incredibly bright but very lacking in self-confidence, and she's very politically engaged from a working class background. So on the surface there should be a lot separating them, but they make each other laugh, and they have a kind of bond that lasts throughout the 90s and for 20 years, and it's about this very. The book was conceived as a tribute to friendship, I think. The idea that our friends make us better and bring out our best qualities, and it's about that grey area between friendship and love. And there's no real life Emma for me, and no real life Dexter, but my own experiences and the experiences of my friends are very much in the book. In fictionalized ways. No, certainly not the Dexter story. Dexter has a very wild, outrageous, selfish time in the 90s, and in the 90s I very rarely left my flat. I had a very quiet time. My experiences in my 20s was much more like Emma's. A lot of anxieties about money and career and sort of guilt and a kind of lack of self-confidence. So Dexter's story is definitely not my story, but a lot of the things that Emma experiences are drawn on my own experience. Often when people look for partners, whether it's on dating websites or in newspaper columns, or often in fiction, it's always portrayed as being about finding someone similar, finding someone with similar tastes, similar politics, a similar background, as if love was like looking in a mirror, and I think experience tells me that that's often not the case. That it's often the oppositions, often the contrasts and the conflicts that are more engaging, more exciting, and more satisfying. So yes, they are very different. But both in life and in fiction, I think that's much more interesting. Well, I don't want to make it sound like I've never had fun in my life, but you know, I've had one or two Dexter experiences, but mostly my experiences have been much more like Emma. Emma is more principled and intelligent and decent than I am. She's a better person, but her background and her outlook on life and her ambitions are much closer to my own than Dexter. I know a lot of Dexters. I know a lot of men who are well intentioned, but sometimes, you know, lose their way a little. But Emma is the character that I relate to the most.